Incoming message.
Ice cream flavored hot dog.
This looks like a food crime. I'm just let you know.
I'm always here to report on food crimes because I don't understand how we got here. What's going on, fam? This is K.R. Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. And that's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
You've seen the evolution. You've seen where it goes, and you understand the story, man.
That part.
And because you do, man, I can't wait to see where we take this, brother. What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we're giving you the inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I have a gentleman of extraordinary league.
K.R. Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward and you do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yeah.
Now, Brother Jones.
What's the word?
I just got off my pedestal, man. I had to start it off right.
Yeah, you came with that energy.
How's your week been, my man?
Week has been all over the place.
Okay, talk to me about it.
I'm just going to start with saying I am progressively getting older. And I feel like that is really starting to set in on me now that, like, fam, you in your 30s. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't a fresh 30. I'm stepping into them. I'm having things of like awareness about social drinking.
Okay.
You know, back in the day, like you would understand or see, you know, adults when you were a child, like drinking beer and things of that nature. And you just feel like, why are they always doing that? And then you get older and you go to an art exhibit that's at a college and now you got to go get the wine and you got to show ID. Like, damn, I'm an alcoholic. But hey, who going to turn down a nice white wine? You know what I'm saying? A nice Sancerre while you look at some art just seems like par for the course.
He's like, I enjoy a good Chianti.
That part, you know what I'm saying? I also realized that sitting in the back seat of the Uber, I immediately reached for my seatbelt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was never a seatbelt kind of dude. You know, like, I would throw out there that my generation was that last group of folk that grew up and just didn't believe in the back seatbelt. It was like, if you're in the back, like, you're straight. Like, you only go.
That's not how that works at all.
I know, but back then it just kind of felt like, you know, taboo, so to speak. Like nobody was throwing it on. In my day-to-day, I'm reaching for that seatbelt. The last thing that I noticed here, I'm not hip in the new slang, bro. The kids be saying stuff these days that I have no idea what it means.
You past the age of 27, you should not have new slang in your bag.
I feel like sometimes you got to stay hip, stay in the know, you know? You got to
stay hip
keep
with
your ear to the streets.
You could hear it, but you should never say it. You should hear it, understand the context of it, so you be able to tell when, like, you need to change how you move it. You know?
Hey, where you from, cuz?
Yeah, you know, you got to be able to identify when danger is coming your way, but you should never be, completely committed to somebody's slang that's 10 years older, 10 years younger than you.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm just taking this time to reflect in my own growth and evolution. And it was one of those kind of weeks. It was like, damn, I'm really getting old, man. You know, the meme on IG when the music play, you know what I'm saying? Like you forgot something or whatever the case may be. Like it always be that old school shit that it starts with the summer madness. It come in real smooth. You know what I'm talking about?
You just start to drift off. That thought be gone. I hear it happening.
Spaced out. You know what I'm saying? How was your week, brother?
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. After I get off that icebreaker, the week has going to be, if I could summarize the week, it was a change is going to come on some real Sam Cooke type energy, my man.
Heard you.
And I'm really just trying to be in a position to embrace that change. Now, that change is not always easy. I don't think any part of this whole life journey is ever easy, especially if you're trying to aim for a higher level and strive for success in a different route. Nobody should suggest to you that stuff is easy, but I am now feeling like I'm in a position where I'm ready to mentally deal with everything that has to come along that route that I know is going to be a challenging route. So it shows up every single time that you have a chance and an opportunity during the course of the week to present itself. It's like you feel like you're making some strides. You're going to come against some friction, Kyle. And that's the
pause. Pardon your left.
Pardon my left. Which is, it feels like you're trying to sneak some new slang in there, but I'm going to let that go. Listen.
You said it, not me.
So I really was trying to embrace that change coming into this week, man. I think that's going to get us into that Ask the Professional this week, man. So we started off today, as this is being recorded, posting a prompt and a call to action for mindful journaling, right? And gratitude journaling in particular. You familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about your own personal experience with gratitude journaling?
Man, I feel like gratitude journaling is something that I adopted a little later in life, but definitely very appreciative of it. When you get to a point sometimes in life when, things always feel like they're falling apart, but they might be falling in place, that's when it's time to really reflect on what you're grateful for in those moments. So even if it's at the end of the day, most times, like, I wouldn't necessarily write it down. Sometimes it might land in my phone notes. Sometimes it might just be a mental practice, but really just thinking about what I'm grateful for, whether it be a moment that happened in that day, a relationship, seeing someone I haven't seen in a while, and seeing how powerful and impactful that can be for energy to move forward.
Absolutely. Helping share some of those tools for people to follow along so that they know why that's so valuable, especially when you are in the midst of some real shit. It's like, yo, when stuff is getting real murky and it's heavy out there, take some time to appreciate what's going right.
Yeah.
That is a quick hack, quick cheat code to get you back on the path where it's like, all right, you might not be in a literally better position, but you at least have the mindset to start to make better decisions. And hopefully that facilitates that movement into the better direction.
There are a lot of tools out there, but you got to get the right tool for whatever job it is that you're working on, right? It's just a matter of putting yourself in that space in order to utilize it, because if you don't, then you'll be missing out.
Yeah, and proper exposure is what's needed for more people to understand how to use these tools to enhance their game. So this is why I like to talk about this stuff. If somebody has to make journaling sexy, why shouldn't it be us, man?
Man.
I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to get into some of this good.
Okay.
I'm going to get into some of this bad.
All right.
And I'm going to talk about a little bit of this ugly this week. Brother Jones, it's time for that rip from the headlines. And my man, first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to ask you about somebody that is a fitness influencer from overseas. Kyle, do you know who Renee Moose is?
Who?
Renee Moose, Kyle.
I can't say I'm familiar with her work.
So Renee is actually a guy. Shout out to Renee.
You're doing your research now this time.
Yes, I am. I'm looking at the article this week because, again, much like the last piece, Kyle, this is going to put a quick bow on it. If we don't know about what's capable in the industry, we're never going to achieve the same things that some of our contemporaries from the other side of the aisle are actually achieving. So the only reason why I want to bring up Renee and highlight the fact that this is somebody that you should know at least the name of, if you are somebody that's a health and wellness professional, Renee just opened up his 800th site this week for his gym. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that again. He has 800 basic fits out in France, and he's expanding them not just in France. He's also going into England and the surrounding countries inside of Europe. Hearing that, don't you at least want to look into how this guy got to 800 of them things and try to understand?
Moving something more than gyms.
Renee's making it work, man.
He's moving units in the city.
So we got to pay attention to how people are doing these things. That's why I look across the aisle, man, because, again, how could we on our side, I don't know anybody.
Let me just get 100 of them one time.
I don't know any black fitness influencers with 800 gyms, bro. So I want to look across. We got to pay attention to somebody who's doing at least some of the same things.
800 seems
800.
It's excessive.
And he's looking to open 200 a year from here on out. So let me tell you why I am extremely interested in how he's moving on that side.
What is this brother selling?
This is what I'm trying to figure out, Brother
It's
Jones.
something in the water.
Speaking about having something in the water, man, sometimes we talk about things over here at the Block of the Rock that really hit close to home, my man. So I know that food being something that is justice is something that's close to my heart, and I spoke about it a lot. Did you see this week that the president of the Rockefeller Foundation, Dr. Rajiv J. Shah, has made a declaration, and that declaration is he's going to be working with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in order to get the hashtag food is medicine to be implemented into some of the daily practices inside of more U.S. government offices. So the Rockefeller Foundation, not to be confused with the Live on the Block of the Rock kind of people over here.
Yeah.
They are really starting to look to solving the problem that I know I spoke to. 90% of what we pay for in health annually, or $3.8 trillion of our annual healthcare costs, could be circumvented if we could just change how people eat inside their household. And unfortunately, it's the underserviced groups that have the hardest times with this. I'm talking about communities of color, communities in the rural areas. I'm talking about veterans. I'm talking about seniors. I'm talking about people who primarily have low income households are disproportionately impacted by not having good food options. Brother Jones, how do you feel about hearing about the U.S. Department of Health teaming up with The Rock to help people try to get a little bit more access to this good food?
It sounds good in theory.
Okay.
Right? I want to start there. My hesitation comes with thinking back to the pandemic when there was initiatives or cities were putting in motion, like painting Black Lives Matter on the streets, right?
Them signs faded real quick, didn't it? I ride past one every day.
And that's kind of what I'm getting towards, right? Of like, yes, in theory, the idea of representation matters, right? Like, in recognition of that representation matters. But if you just bring it up and nothing follows after that, it's all smoke and mirrors, right? Like, how are we actively changing the communities that are affected by this? Everyone that you just mentioned, from people of color, from veterans to senior citizens to like just minorities in general, people with a low profit margin, right? How are we actively addressing the food deserts, the actual products that go into these stores, right?
You know how they're doing that? And just to highlight it, it's that $3.8 trillion price tag that's on there, Kyle. Because a business person, I just for argument's sake, right? I got to play the other side. I'm going to play the God's advocate on the other side, my man.
Okay.
If I see somebody spending $3.8 trillion on one side, and I could save you 10%, 15, 20% of that, the fact that I could save the government 15 or 20% by doing something that is a intervention, is that going to be better or worse for the government? It's going to be better for the government because they don't want to spend that money. Now, if you had that money going out, you're almost spending $4 trillion a year. And let's say I cut that $4 trillion down to $2 trillion, but I get to keep a good percentage of that $2 trillion. Business is going to be the thing that leads you forward. So you just have to make it cost effective to make people healthy, there is a clear pathway for you to do that. You know, it doesn't have to be all for nothing. Like the same system of sickness that people are profiting off of, you could profit off of making people healthy. It's just you have to find a way to make that profit. So now that you have the need to lower this cost, somebody's going to make profit here. And Kyle, this is why we got to pay attention, because anytime you talking about trillions of dollars worth of...
That's a T, not a B.
And they looking at our communities, I don't see enough of us on those conversations. So I want to keep saying it until somebody associates me with talking about that $1 trillion problem that we all trying to figure out.
We're going to call you $1 trillion Tony.
We're trying to close the damn health gap. I'm going to keep screaming it from place to place. Now, some part of that whole diatribe that we were just getting into about food, Kyle, evolves around breaking bread. And there's a Gallup poll that came out this week that says
There was a what?
A Gallup poll. Gallup polls are usually the polls that go around for presidential elections, and they tell you who's in front. And we found out how accurate they may or may not be in the whole Donald Trump era. So take this for what you will. But this Gallup poll says that breaking bread together is something that can lead to us being healthier. Now, people who eat alone tend to not necessarily make the best choices, best decisions, and you do a lot of emotional eating that's associated with that. Apparently, when you're having in-person contact and you're having happier interactions during that time, you're eating a lot more consciously, and that conscious eating has been shown to be correlated to people having better health. In contrast to people doing 3 or more solo dinners during the week, you're more likely to have issues around depression. You know, people are really having a friend pandemic out there where they don't have enough people to really connect with. Brother Jones, what's your thoughts on hearing that breaking bread, something that can actually make you healthier?
Life's too short to have dinner with somebody you don't like.
Okay.
I'll start there. Doubling down on it, I would say, of course, whenever you're breaking bread, so to speak, with someone that you love, it should be an intimate and fruitful exchange, right? This is someone whose ideals you agree with. Y'all can shoot the shit, catch up on life, emotionally support each other, all that jazz. If you're doing it alone, you eating that hungry man dolo. You know, that
Salisbury steaks never hit the same way.
Food, you know what I'm talking about. Like all that Trader Joe's shit that's frozen and you just got heat up. Like just think of how lonely you are eating that meal.
It's just you and the sizzle.
Yeah, you know. So
sound of the plastic peeling back.
I do think that there's a lot of power in cooking for the people you love, especially in the Black community. Food is more than medicine, but also almost ritualistic to some extent, right? It's like, yo, you stepping into this thing that I've practiced and cultivated over the years. This is my mama's recipe that she done gave me, and I think that's not even necessarily a black thing. I think that's a cultural thing.
I think it's all cultures, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing that unites people, families, friends all over the globe, man, is really just sitting down and exchanging with somebody across the table. You have to have a level of trust, a level of openness, and a camaraderie that you get from
an invitation has to take place. There's communication involved.
But we are seriously in a time where that is such a rare condition, my brother.
This day and age.
It really is, though. You think, like, I never had more alerts on my timeline talking about how many people are lonely out here, how many people is just down bad mentally, and they don't have, like, sources that they could even go to try to do that. So what do you think is a good way to remedy some of that social awkwardness that exists and some of those people who feel like they are isolated on these little pockets by themselves? What's a good way to kind of remedy that?
Your vibe is going to attract your tribe, bro. You got to put yourself out there into vulnerability, right? There's so many communities, especially in a place like New York City. There's biking communities, there's running communities, there's coffee communities, there's photography communities, there's music communities, there's clothing and vintage clothing communities, there's classic car club. Like, whatever your interest is, there's a space where people congregate around that like-minded interest. You then have to put yourself in a position to figure out how to get an invite into that space or just show up. Majority of these clubs have quarterly events or something that is open to the public that is welcoming, but you got to show up and not only be there, but be present. A lot of people can show up and just check the box of like, I'm here.
I was here.
I'm out the house. It's like, yeah, but did you have meaningful conversation with someone? Did you introduce yourself to somebody? Did you listen to somebody else's story to get to know them, to hopefully be a part of a community? If you're not doing none of those things, then of course your ass going to be lonely at home eating your feelings.
So I would start going back through from taking your interest, your genuine interest, sit with some of that solo time that you're spending, identify what it is that you like, and more specifically, what you genuinely love.
And if you're on nasty time, keep your ass in the house.
If you are on nasty time.
Because we don't need y'all out here in the public.
So after you identify what
That's all you OnlyFans dudes, you little sex bot dudes, all you nasty motherfuckers out there, stay home.
So after you identify what you like and you genuinely love, you can find typically a community that would celebrate that act. Some of the acts that Brother Jones was talking about just now, not every single act, but
not all of them.
There's a community that will genuinely celebrate and embrace you around that. And then you have to make that jump, the biggest jump thing that I think people have hurdles with, Kyle, is transitioning from that online community into the in-person community.
100%.
Right? So when you find the opportunity to do that, make sure you step out of your way, embrace some of that discomfort, break the ice, introduce yourself, talk about why you like something that's in the room, and then see where that takes you, man. That's where I'm going to leave off of that one, Brother Jones. And the last thing.
How much a polar bear wearing?
No idea.
Enough to break the ice. I'm Kyle Jones.
That's how you coming in there.
Nice to meet you. That's easy right there. That was on the back pocket.
There we go. He's giving you the first icebreaker to do. I would say try that at your own risk. You go where you need to go with this. Kyle, the next story that I'm going to go into, the last one is going to wrap this up. When I say TB12, what comes to mind, Kyle?
I know you're not talking about Tom Brady.
You know I am talking about Tom Brady. And who's Tom Brady for anybody that might have been under the rock the past 10, 20 years inside of football,
Tom
Kyle?
Brady is the white goat.
Billy Goat.
He's the Billy Goat. That man has former NFL player, Super Bowl champion 7 times, which I think is the most in the NFL present day. Definitely historic in that right.
Okay, so and his TB12 brand is associated with what, Kyle?
I don't know, because I don't keep up with him outside of football and off the field.
There's a reason for that, right?
100%.
So, you don't have everybody that makes that transcendence to make your field play be aspirational lifestyle play.
No, something about him always felt racist. His girlfriend too.
We're going to skip past some of what you're saying.
Sorry, I'm continuing.
So it's difficult sometimes to make that personality into a brand and that brand into a lifestyle, and people start to, really embrace that off the field play. So TB12 has been out for a while. You haven't really seen it take off. There's been workouts put out by TB12. He had an apparel line come out through there as well. And you could see that Tom wanted to be in this health and wellness arena, but he just really didn't get the traction that he wanted to get to. The 7-time Super Bowl ring wearer wasn't getting that same pull, right? So you know what Tom just did this week, Brother Jones? Let me skip past and let you know Okay. He teamed up with No Bull. Now, No Bull is a brand that's known primarily for what, Kyle?
They sneakers and athletic wear.
That cater to who?
Bodybuilders, gym folks.
And I would say like that whole CrossFit-ish kind of crowd, a little bit more into that lane. And this is where Tom Brady's nutrition company, workout company, and everything that is underneath the Brady brand is now starting to make this collaboration happen. They're going to be joining forces to make a new line of footwear, apparel, and nutrition products. Now, what do you think about this No Bull TB12 partnership that we need to pay attention to inside of health and wellness, Kyle?
This is K.R. Jones, and the views and opinions I'm about to lay out are mine and my own and do not reflect the ideals of Off the Strength Podcast.
While he is wildly appropriating the people that he's about to talk to
now,
with the Duck Dynasty glasses.
Once I've said that, I feel like the Nobu shoes were never my cup of tea. They never really were a nice fit. It always looked a little like a boxing shoe. Like, imagine a boxing in the ring shoe. They like high up. Like, it just was never a good looking shoe to me. And I would put Nobu in that realm of like Gymshark and like all of those other athleisure brands that are bodybuilder, gym wear specific, but not necessarily like my kind of clothing that I would wear.
Okay.
I'll start there. So I'm already not really rocking with them. Then TB12 is not somebody that I rock with off the field. Like, we've never heard Tom Brady talk until he was on the shop with LeBron. Then it was just kind of like, yeah, I probably never need to hear him talk again. And on top of that, it's like he's never been looked at as a benchmark of physical fitness, right? Like, when you think about other players, like the first thing that comes to mind to me is like a Terrell Owens. Homie had 4% body fat. If T.O. was out here going into the Nobu with the workout plan and all of that, I'm going to listen to what he got to say, because homie was really getting to it all of those years. No one on the face of this earth has ever been like, yo, I want a Tom Brady body, fam. Like, he's never been that type of a benchmark, and you've never seen him work out. You've never seen any of this. So I think that he's got a lot more to close that gap in order to get people to buy in off of just his name. Like, maybe it's just me, but I haven't seen it to make that type of investment.
I think it's just from the other side of the aisle, man. The typical New England Patriot fan.
Yeah.
Looks,
all of them.
Feels.
He got Maine, New Hampshire.
And everybody that looks and feels like they're in that area.
He got that on lock. He not getting that off in the A. They not doing that in Florida on the West Coast.
60% of the country, Kyle.
What, up there in Maine?
No, I'm saying 60% of the people that look and cater to what he could look and cater to.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's 60% of the country.
That don't
man.
mean they're gonna spend that green over there.
Hey, all right, we're gonna see how this more will be revealed in this development. That's gonna be it from my
wait
side.
And see. All right,
what you got this week, my man?
Man, I got 3 stories in particular that came up on my timeline that I would like to share. First being, Brother Tone, you know how much I love the arts these days, as well as like paint and graffiti and things of that nature. Like, I've really grown affinity for something like that. I want you to give a live reaction of what it is that you're looking at right now for the people.
This is downtown LA's newest street art installation. It looks kind of like what 5 Points used to look like back in the day, but like a overly fancy, like very polished version of 5 Points. So it's a very tall building that has been tagged intentionally. It looks like it's going up maybe 50, 60 stories or something like that.
What if I were to tell you that this was not a public art installation by any means? This is artists coming together to tag a building that was being built that's not even vacant. Like, there's no one, it is vacant, I'm sorry. There's no one living in this building. And LA is building this type of stuff downtown where there's a huge homeless population and there's nobody living in these buildings. So artists came together and tagged them because it's right across the street from Crypto Arena, formerly known as the Staples Center, where the Lakers play at. The Grammys will be there in about 2 days.
It's kind of filthy that we still refer to that as Crypto Arena, but I'm gonna let that go.
That's the company that owns it, right? For me, it was a matter of seeing the unity it takes in artists coming together, right? This, as you mentioned, is about 50 to 60 floors. Each of those tags is a different artist that risked their life to show a city, yo, we don't appreciate y'all building these high rises when the homeless people have nowhere to go. You're building this vacant space that's being a premium price that nobody's living in, then why is it here, right?
I can tell you why it's there, because it never had anything to do with the apartments renting to make it money.
Of course.
There's a lot of people from countries that are not inside the U.S. that park their money in the U.S., right? So if I could buy that land and those air rights, I could never have a tenant in there. Once you start talking about that level of money, I could put a building here that I never intend to use. And just the fact that I could park my money here, I could sell it after 10, 20 years, and I'm going to make money, guaranteed. Yeah. I just can't have whatever evil shit I was doing in my country. They was about to come for this money. So I was like, you know what? Hey, which one of these cities can I build in real quick? Let me just go ahead and put all this money here. So when they do come and look for it, I don't even have it. So
which is what makes me love even more the art that's taking place on these buildings.
And I saw that there's some international tags on there. So we talked about briefly before that one United People tag that's all the way at the top of the thing. I don't know if you saw that, but that's that one up. That is a straight up German tag that is hundreds of people that are associated with that tag. So I can see this being a global economic problem. This is why they're doing that. This
also happened in Miami, and this is now happening in LA. So there's more to come on this, and I'm looking forward to just seeing the graffiti story told even more, because it truly is really interesting when you get into it.
The backfire thing to that is, though, somebody is going to exploit the fact that they did that and make way more money than they probably should have made off of the fact that they just kind of embellished their own building anyway. So the person who's perpetuating the problem now stands to get even more money, because some of those tags are that's the level of realness that people who don't live down there want to have. Yep. So to say that I live in the tag building, that's just put another $2,000-$3,000 on that property that you can get on that corner.
And that is the beauty of art. Now, speaking of art, I feel like I sent this to you, but I had to double down on the hot dog flavored ice cream.
Yeah, that sounds nasty, bro.
Why, as a people, do we need hot dog flavored ice cream?
I don't think we, as a people, need that, because I don't think anybody elected for that to exist.
No, somebody elected for that to happen. I showed you the video. We first talked about such when IKEA had like them pink hot dogs.
Yeah.
And now this is ice cream flavored hot dog.
This looks like a food crime. I'm just let you know.
I'm always here to report on food crimes because I don't understand how we got here. Right? Like, people now mix things that like we would never even dream of mixing. Like,
you can have ice cream. You can have hot dogs.
You should never have both.
Why do you need to have them both at the same time?
That's not even something I would even like dream of combining, you know, like. And we talked about hot dogs, fam. Every hot dog is 6 minutes off your life, right? So just go back and add.
That was the show.
Go back and add how many hot dogs you've had in your lifespan, right? I'm talking childhood to present day. You lost some years, right?
Not to mention the chemistry that you got to put into making ice cream taste like a hot dog. That's going to take, if a regular hot dog took 6 minutes off, this got to be up to like 12.
Easily.
It's got to be twice as bad for you.
Easily.
Anytime you're eating something that has a color that you cannot find in any natural environment, also go ahead and add another 2 minutes to what's coming off your life.
So we're talking a prime 8 minutes after every one.
You're going to lose a half hour you messing around with those, man.
This is crazy, man. So that was the ugly that I saw this week.
I appreciate that.
Always got to report on the food crimes. Sliding out of that, we're going to get into our Raising the Bar segment this week, Brother Tone.
Let's raise it up, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you're now in store to raise your bar.
Raise it up on them, man.
Man, Brother Tone, you know, this podcast exists a lot more outside of the podcast recording, especially majority of the time we have what we like to call podcast talk, right? You see somebody, you might drop a gem on them. They may or may not pick it up, but you drop gems on folks all the time, right?
Be potting every day.
I was reflecting on that time when I had to drop the gem on a nice barista. She was talking about, man, you know, it's been so rainy lately. You know, I just haven't really been having fun outside. I was like, listen, the key is you got to appreciate the rainy days just as much as the sunny days. That's how you get by. She was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. You know what I'm saying? I was dropping the gems on them, Tone.
Can I hear your barista voice one more time?
Man, I just never hear it. It's so sad out here. You know, last night a DJ saved my life.
Shout out to the DJ saving lives. Hassan and Saying on the ones and twos over there.
So I'm reflecting on earlier in this week when I had a job interview. And in this interview, upon entry, there's always room for like that small talk, but there's also that weird tension of like, fam, I don't know you, you don't know me, but hopefully we can get to know each other and have a better outcome towards the end of this. So in the midst of that, in that small talk, the guy that was interviewing me was like, man, it's been so gloomy lately. I just wish the sun would be out a little bit. And I was like, hey, man, sunshine is internal, brother. You gotta promote that yourself. You can't just wait on it. He was like, wow, like sunshine is internal, man. That's a word right there. I was like, oh, I know. I done did the work. And it had me thinking about, man, like the reality of that, right? Like the sun rises every day. We don't always see it every day, but it still comes up. Like it may be too cloudy. It may be a rainy day. That might be a rainstorm that's blocking your better judgment, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, or you might have some heavy fog in the mental, if you will. But the sun is up and is bright. You know what I'm saying? And in those moments when the sun is invisible or the warmth of that isn't felt, that's when you need to understand that this moment is only temporary, but the sun itself is forever. It's a feeling, right? It's eternalized. It's something that when you walk into a room, do you brighten other people's day, right? Like when you walk into a space, are you actually the light that you claim to be, right? Like there's people that, shout out to SRJ, we had him on the pod back in the day. He was like, yo, every time I walk in, I suck the air out of the room type shit. I was like, all right, that's a bit aggressive, but I see what you're talking about.
That's a wild way to say that.
Yeah, pardon the left. I'm repeating somebody else's words nonetheless, but being confident enough to know that you are emitting this natural resource of a good frequency, of good energy that people could feed off of is a hell of a recognition, right? So, Brother Tone, I got to come to you and ask, I know you are famously known for being a forest bathing Negro, what I'm saying? And you like to step out and step with the big dogs from time to time. And I was wondering if you could reflect on the time specifically when you discovered that daylight and sunshine would be non-negotiable for your days moving forward.
On some real, I think you only know how critical it is to embrace the sunlight if you on some real deep depressive shit. And not even to serious it out.
The seasons change. That's very real.
Seasonal affective disorder, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a week like we just had in New York City where you probably got 6 out of the last 7 days was just gray in the same form. It's very easy for that outside gray to start to reflect on your internal side, and you'll have some grayness in there. If you're not deliberate about getting outside and actually just doing something outside during the daylight time, you're going to feel way worse. I could only suggest that, all those things that make you want to stay indoors and make you want to lock in and just like get into full hibernation mode, that feeling is not going to subside by itself, especially if you don't have some type of system where you have to make an intervention. If you don't have a reason to leave, it's very easy for you to stay in that same position. Every time I had to confront that and had to overcome it, the second that you get outside, you start to feel those impacts almost immediately. It's kind of like, all right, I'm in this mode and this mood. I don't even have to be working out super hard. Let me just go out and walk in it. Let me just see what this feels like. Let me get around some trees. Let me put my feet in some grass if it's all right for it. If it's not, just go out and breathe some air somewhere differently. You start to feel a little bit of that ceiling lifting a little bit more. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best, like blow the doors off and you get all the way back up to the top, like bright sunshiny day mode, but you can at least feel that being in a different environment helps change some of the emotional status that's happening over there, man.
I couldn't agree more. I think about it truly being a privilege that a lot of people take for granted to be able enough to pick up and walk somewhere, right? Like that as a sentiment is something that not everyone can do. And especially when you get up and are able to go outside, you can go outside and truly breathe in life, right? Like outside of your apartment, outside of your home, outside of whatever space is your safe space, so to speak. Like it's a necessity to be able to take in the natural resource such as the sun, because it does recharge, it does re-energize, and often uplifts you from that darkness, you know? So that's what I had to speak on now. I know I ain't get a chance to bike today like I wanted to, but I've been taking my stride in the sun with my Duck Dynasty glasses on. Shout out to Oakley, you know what I'm saying? Cut that check, you know what I'm saying?
CTC, baby.
CTC, for you see me. We need another activation over there in due time. But nonetheless,
just plugged in, man. Right here. This is where they're gonna see all of the other activations. This is where that video gonna come into play.
Do you need some hater blockers? Do you need the sun not up in your eyes?
Stunt on these fools out here.
You want to stunt on these hoes?
Or hunt them down?
That's
why you need the K.R. Jones Duck Dynasties.
Oakley, shades for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're not just for the whites.
See how this is you blocking your blessings
every time, right?
You keep getting back into that part.
Cause man, they be out here taking my blessings. So I gotta speak on it.
It's not gonna help you.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna cut it out the show and cut. So, brother Tone, we're talking about relaxing responsibly this week. This segment is brought in part by the On the Move bag, ladies and gentlemen. You see the merch is here. Now, when you're on the move, you need a bag that's mobile enough for you to do the things that you need to do, right? And that is how you get into the space to relax responsibly, brother Tone. So tell us about how you relax this week.
Absolutely. You know, since this is brought to you in part by the On the Move bag, buy off the strength, Kyle, I have to highlight the fact that this bag comes with a suspension trainer, Kyle.
Suspension? A
suspension trainer that'll allow you to get into some movement that is restorative or active, depending on how you're feeling. So since we're talking about the relax responsibly,
tell us more.
We only going to talk about some of the stretches that you can do off of there. So I get off the bike and I have my bag with me already that can help me stretch out. I'm telling you, it's the thing that I needed in my life, my man. But you know what? That's not even how I relax this week, Brother Jones.
Well, speak on it, man.
Brother Jones, I got into my relaxation this week. And man, I got to be honest with you. After being tested with all of those situations, after being, you know, on the preface of embracing that change, man, I really could have used a spa day this week, bro. I ain't going to hold you. And I could not get to the spa.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the spa is that's the spot.
Sometimes you go to the spa, you go drop a nice little bit of coin.
For sure.
You know, and that's just not the phase that I'm in right now at the moment.
It ain't cheap, you know?
So instead of that, I had to bring the spa inside the house, Brother Jones.
All right.
Now, one of the steps that I think is a cost-effective hack to get inside the real spa kind of mentality, I had to do some aromatherapy inside the house, my man.
You got to change the smell up.
You got to change the smell up, put a nice little scent in the air, nice little eucalyptus, little tea tree. And I will tell you that, again, going along with the getting some sun on your face, changing your environment, the ambiance of it, makes it lift up a little bit more. So I started off my day with my gratitude and I changed my attitude. Changing that aroma inside the room,
not
man.
The gratitude to the attitude.
You know what happened, man. That's how I was relaxing. How was you giving it up over there, bro?
Man, I understand that. I always bring a little incense with me from time to time. You got to light a cone just to change the vibe.
I feel you.
And the scenery. My week relaxation looked a little something like attending the homie Killer's first solo art exhibit.
Salute
to him. And then also, just as early as last night, I haven't even told you this yet. I was in my local pub, you know, my little watering hole where I go and get a pint, if you will.
Okay.
I was bombarded with love from the homie Rashad that we ran into at the FemDoc concert.
Really?
He was like, "Oh, yo, what's up, man?"
Shout out to Rashad, man.
I was telling homie about you. Got to meet this dude. Like, he was just a ball of energy, and he was excited to see me again because obviously we hadn't seen him since we met him at the concert that we was at, and it was just like, damn, like that made me feel old again. You know what I mean? It was like, homie got so much energy and youth. You know, I was just like, well. What up? You know, how you living? And being able to just have a conversation to shine some light on the day-to-day, the ups and downs, the best out of life, all the above. Was like, all right, you know, I'm actually an OG out here, man, and blessing the youth them. So I was relaxing responsibly in art exhibits and also in the pub of my local watering hole.
That's what's up, man. Do me a favor. Can we break out that Killer exhibit a little bit more, man? Because I do think that brother, again, is doing some of the most important work that I've seen in Bed-Stuy. Could you go into what that exhibit was like?
Killer Joseph is a multidisciplinary artist. I've seen him do everything from photography to installations on scaffolding around Bed-Stuy specifically. There's been wheat paste that he's posted up. And this was his first solo exhibit that was highlighting, I believe his great grandfather was the focus, so to speak, and just telling his story of going to the Vietnam War. I believe his great grandfather was the first person that came to Brooklyn that allowed his family to grow deeper generationally. So being a true Yorker, if you will. And I also believe he's a teacher at NYU too, which is why he was able to get his exhibit there. So to have someone that is a true Yorker, that was born and raised in New York, have their first solo show after dozens of work that's been, publicly shown in Bed-Stuy, and now to have something publicly shown on a place as prestigious as NYU is, I think that's pivotal, man. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as all that he's actually contributed artistically.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to highlight that because, again, it's one of those things that, one, his context, now seeing his why, or like him sharing a little bit more about his family story, that makes it a lot more impactful to the message that he's talking about, especially when his work in Bed-Stuy is almost directly confronting what gentrification is doing.
Yeah.
There's nothing, he's cataloging and speaking directly to the people who have been in that community for the longest time about what they still need to connect with, be proud of, and fight for at the end of the day. So seeing his grandfather's fight kind of helps shape at least a little bit of the fight that he's doing on a day-to-day and on that art side. And that all the way circles back to the same fight that you was talking about on the other side, man, where art impacting the community is trying to make a statement or make a change happen that somebody's going to notice, Kyle. So I just wanted to point that out, man.
It's a beautiful thing, man, which leads me to the hopeful for this week, Brother Tone. What are you hopeful for, man?
Kyle, staying on theme.
Stop right there. Hopeful segment is brought in part by the On the Move bag this week.
Definitely is.
Now, if you're on the move, you got to hope that you get to your destination on time and with the right accessories. This On the Move bag is bought with different compartments, right? So you can compartmentalize your life.
Yeah, you can put your hope in the front, you can put your dreams in the middle, and you can put your desires all the way in the back.
Right in the back. Strap it to your chest and ride with that off the strength On the Move.
Ride confidently. I'm out there. So, Kyle, based off of that, I'm hopeful, truly hopeful, to one day be able to do the level of business that some of the entrepreneurs on the other side of the aisle get to share in and take part with. I feel like for the level of opportunity that we get to see, I want to really make it a global level of opportunity because I see what global business does. I don't just want to do something that's going to be novel for me to do or for somebody that comes from my community to do. I want to do, real art and real action that's at the level of the contemporaries that are in that space across the world. And we just talked about a brother who's doing 800 gyms out there. We talked about another guy who's out there doing collaborations with multi-million-dollar companies. And then we got somebody that's going to make probably a good $1 trillion off of the food that we talk about every single week. I want to hopefully one day do that level of business with the stuff that I know we are way too immersed in to not get that benefit from.
Amen. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it count. You got anything else you want to drop on the people this week, man?
I don't actually. I feel like I left it all on the table. Went for the triple-double. It might have been a triple-single depending on who was counting, but nonetheless, we here.
We here and we are recording live on the block of the Rock, Brother Jones. Now, if they needed to catch up with us at Newsstand Studios, where could they check us out at?
They could find us on Instagram at @offthestrength_. Or if you were looking for us at Newsstand Studios, you can go on Instagram at Rockefeller Center or on Twitter at NRock. Rock.
Give him the wheel. Hassan, hit the spin back.
On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rock Center NYC.
That's what's up, my man. I want to shout out to, we got to shout out to the good brother Hassan Insane, who's in here producing with us live on the air. That's right. And if you haven't been to a Hassan Insane party, let me tell you why they gave this man his name real quick. Because you going to hear a mix that you ain't never heard. It's going to hit you in the rut. Okay? When that hits you, you're going to look across the room. You're going to start singing those words. And then somebody going to lock eyes with you. Right when you singing them words.
I just want to give my own testimony. We talked about No Ordinary Love, which immediately took me to Is It a Crime?
Yep.
Now, once in the blue back in the day, you know, a long time ago when I was getting some special attention. You know what I'm saying?
This is never at a time that was anywhere near here. You know?
Yeah, it was way long ago. Back in the day.
It's like if you have to think back to it, it's in black and white. That's how far back you're talking about.
You picking up what I'm putting down.
Absolutely.
So I was sent this song, you know, Is It a Crime? Now, that's one of them Sade songs where it was just like, ooh, like it make your knees weak a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel you.
It raised the temperature in the room and kind of get you where you need to go to get your two-step, your tango, whatever it is you need to do to lay it on down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I can attest to Hassan Hussein providing such a vibe.
Oh, yeah.
In a space where you look up and you make some eye contact, you might go half on the baby that night. You never know.
You know what it be. He's putting an insane amount of energy on the dance floor right now. You know what I'm saying? So make
if
sure
you can't close the deal, that's on
you.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not his fault. That's your fault.
Here's the lob.
He set him up for you to knock him down, all right? Make sure you go check him out. Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
K.R. Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.